We'll call the meeting to order at 7 p.m. Please rise and the clerk will lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sharon. All right, may I have a motion and a second that the agenda of October 10th, 2017 be approved as submitted? Any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. All right, approval of the consent agenda. Proposed resolution that the board approve the following consent agenda. Approval of minutes of September 26, 2017 is submitted. Acceptance of recommendations from the Committee on Special Education. Acceptance of recommendations from the Committee on Preschool Special Education. Acceptance of recommendations from the Superintendent for personnel changes. Request to approve the recommended bidders, WB Mason, Veritiv, Operating Corp., Economy Paper, and Cascade School Supplies per the BOCES cooperative bid for fine paper for the period 11/1/17 to 4/30/18. May I have a motion, please, and a second that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. Your treasurer's report is attached for the month ending August 31st, 2017. May I have a motion and a second, please, that the treasurer's report, including the cash report, general fund cash report, general fund revenue status report, general fund budget status report, school lunch fund cash report, and school lunch fund revenue and expense budget report for the month ending August 31st, 2017 be approved. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. All right, no special reports tonight. And this would be our visitor speaking time. I can see we don't have any visitors tonight. But this would be the time, and we do invite visitors to come and bring their concerns and comments to the board. We do have a protocol, but since we don't have any visitors tonight, we will move on to our student rep, Claire.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. So at Harris Hill, kindergarten classes are implementing movement breaks into their day, in which students dance with avatars shown on the smartboard in order to keep students active while also having fun in class.
Oh, fun.
At Harris Hill is collecting donations to help the people of Puerto Rico, and students and families have already brought in boxes full of toiletries for the cause. At Cobbles, students sponsored a bake sale at the Scarecrow Festival in the Fairport Village, where they raised money for hurricane relief and for the Golisano Children's Hospital. And in Indian Landing, students are experimenting with the new technology and software, which will allow students to interact and share writing pieces with each other. These new computer programs will be implemented into the school year, so students can work on writing projects in groups and learn how to work together to revise and peer edit their classmates' writing assignments. Also, at morning meetings, students at Indian Landing are getting to know their classmates even more and learning how to build positive communities. At Scribner, second grade classes are visiting Whittier Farms and Long Acre Farms for a fun and educational learning field trip. At Bay Trail, students attended computing and Arduino presentations last month, which was a fun, unique, and educationally advanced experience for all middle school students. 8th grade Caring Community Ambassadors use leadership skills to help the 6th grade back-to-school night run smoothly. At PHS, the new high ropes course is in full use, with many students and staff enjoying the courses during gym periods. And last night, students from all grades came to PHS to decorate each level's corresponding hallway in celebration for Homecoming Week. And also, this week is Homecoming Week at Penfield, so students will dress up each day according to different themes. And on Friday, there will be shortened periods for the pep rally, where students can watch their classmates participate in challenging games in order to win the Spirit Cup. And I have some pamphlets for homecoming that just have like the homecoming details, such as the carnival, the spirit days, and also like the schedule for all of the times. So,
Great.
there you go.
Thank you, Claire.
No problem.
Any questions or comments for Claire? Bless you, Barb. Thank you, Claire. You put a lot of effort and time into those reports, and we all appreciate hearing everything that's going on. Everyone sounds very busy, getting ready for homecoming, and we appreciate the update. Thank you. Okay, superintendent's report.
Great.
That means it's you.
It's me. I won't talk long tonight. So we have thanks to Claire, and I will just say the hallways look incredible. I got a chance to come over today and walk the high school. So once again, the students did an incredible job. If you get an opportunity sometime this week to walk through, it's really, really nice. You're on your way out tonight. They really do a great job decorating. So we have just tonight, I just have a couple of student staff honors, and then I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Sansucci, who's going to go through the RAS self-funding initiative, which we started talking about last year, an update on that, as well as, believe it or not, the budget calendar for the 2018-19 school year, and then another update on our 2018 elementary additions project. So just two updates I have are, again, celebrating some of our incredible students. We have a number of students here. I'm not going to read all of their names, but they're in your agenda. But just wanted to point out that these students have been selected to participate in the NYSSMA Junior and Senior High Area All-State Festivals. So we have students selected in the areas of orchestra, band, and chorus. And again, just incredible students. I think it's a testament to the musical talent and the musical instruction we have here in the Penfield Central School District. Also, our National Merit Commended students. The following PHS students have been named as commended students in the 2018 National Merit Scholarship Program. And so commended students are recognized for placing among the top 50,000 scorers out of 1.6 million juniors who entered the competition by taking the PSAT exam. So just congratulations to Dana Bulger, Sarah Chen, Andrew Fabrizi, Taia Irwin, Rachel Peterson, Rachel Sine, Rachel Wells, Catherine Yates, and Elizabeth Yorko. Just again, really incredible students here, great instruction, and kids and families in Penfield. I promised I only had two updates, or two there's lots of positive things, but I only have two on my slideshow, and I'll turn it over to Dr. Sansucci for his presentation.
Good evening. One of the items in your agenda tonight is the approval of a resolution for a municipal cooperative agreement associated with RASH 2. I've updated the board about this in the past. Sure.
We'll test the speaker first. Does that sound a little better? All right. Thank you, Kevin. Sorry, Mark.
That's quite all right. So, let me just start over. So one of the, yeah, we'll set it back a little bit. One of the items in your agenda tonight is a request for you to approve a municipal cooperative agreement with other area districts as we move towards a self-funded health insurance plan for our employees. I want to spend a few minutes before you get to that agenda item going through what it's all about, how it works, remind everybody about sort of the history of the RASH plan and how it's functioned to date, because this is a pretty significant step, I think, on our route to continuing to be able to contain our costs for health insurance, which, as you know, is a very significant driver in our budget. So just a little bit of history to begin with. The RASH plan was implemented in January of 2004. Penfield was one of the founding districts. We were one of the initial districts that participated in the creation of that plan. I was fortunate enough to be able to be on the committee that did the original planning, and it's been very successful for us. So, but it is a fully insured plan. It's organized as a cooperative, so the 17 participating districts and the two BOCES cooperate to offer a plan that is experience-based, but it's still fully insured. So we use Excelis as our plan administrator, and the technical term for what we offer. This is the health insurance that we make available to all of our employees, or to all of our employees that are entitled to it by contract. So It is a minimum premium experience rated plan, and I'll explain what that is in just a bit. But it's not self-insured, it's an insured product. This slide shows you the history of participation in that product. So the orange bar across the top is total participation, and you can see that it grew. Not every district participated, and even amongst districts who participated, not every unit participated, because we live in a unionized environment. We have to bargain benefits, and the change to this plan in terms of what insurances were offered in districts was negotiated district by district and unit by unit. And so you can see that ramp up across time in the orange bar. But for the past many years, I do not think there's a unit left in the county that's not participating in this plan. So pretty much all districts all in. The red, green, and blue bars show the three plans that the district offers. Extended is the blue bar. That's the sort of the richest, the oldest plan. It's not offered in most districts anymore, and you can see it gradually sliding towards its demise. The two most commonly offered plan are Value and Select. Select is the older of the two plans, and as a means of cost containment, districts have been trying to negotiate and moving units into the Value plan. And you can see that here, Select going down, Value going up. That's been the tradition, or the trend, I should say. Not shown on this slide yet is a high deductible plan that the district has, or that the district's been offering, but the consortium has been offering just in the last couple years. It's relatively small in numbers, but that will be probably the next generation. We will begin to work to move, districts will begin to work to move employee groups into that plan, and you'll see the same sort of thing happen with Value probably as you see in this slide. So that's the history. This is tonight's converse. So big plan, a lot of history, a lot of contracts, a lot of covered lives. But this is really the plan that's probably, or the slide that's probably most relevant to tonight's conversation. And this is the difference between our rates, the percentage increase that the RASH plan has increased, and what the community has increased. That was relevant in the earlier years. That was perfectly relevant in the earlier years of the plan, when you could still buy Extended, Select, or Value in the community. When we created that plan, our goal was to mirror those plans in our own environment, because we knew we couldn't simultaneously start this new initiative and have different plans. We would have never negotiated that arrangement. So our plans mirrored Extended, Select, and Value. In recent years, those plans are no longer offered in the community. You couldn't buy those plans in the community today. So the comparison here is to the entire book of business for Excellus, which probably understates their increase, because their book of business anymore is mostly high deductible plans. So even given that disadvantage, you can see we've outperformed the community, we've outperformed those high deductible plans, and that difference, that savings, accrues to both the district and to the employee, because we share costs. Our goal here was not to change health insurance really, but just to lower the level of the whole lake. Rather than have winners or losers, we thought if we could lower the level of the lake over time, that we would all win. And I think this is a good demonstration that that's been successful. So, but what's the next step? We have, to make that happen over time, we've taken lots of steps to control costs. So there's a board of directors. Every district has a representative on that board of directors. I'm Penfield's representative. And we've made decisions along the way that perhaps have increased our risk as our experience grew and as we thought that we could take on that risk, but also drove savings. So we began with by sharing risk with a consortium of schools. That was a difficult administrative step, but it was an easy decision. I think we've worked to be pretty conservative in our management of the plan. We've done claims audits, dependent enrollment audits. We've moved away from using Excelis for our actuarial work to an independent actuarial service. We've done RFPs for all of the components of the plan that we could, and we've pushed for additional performance measures on Excelis. The final bullet on this step, on this slide here, the final 2 bullets, is we self-funded our stop-loss insurance, so we set up reserves for stop-loss for bad years when you have unusually large claims. We are no longer insured for that, we're self-insured. And finally, in the last few years, we took on responsibility for terminal claims liability, and what that means really is that the advantage of a fully insured plan is that somebody else bears the risk, right? If you buy insurance and something bad happens to you, you have a terrible year, all your employees get sick, everyone has major surgery, you pay the premium that you agreed to, and the insurance company bears that risk. If it's a good year, you pay that premium, the insurance company reaps the benefit, right? So the question is, who bears the risk? A self-insured plan, a fully self-insured plan, is really just the mirror image of that fully insured plan. The plan itself bears all the risk. So if it's a bad year, the plan pays. If it's a good year, the plan wins. The arrangement that we have now, the fully insured minimum premium, we negotiate and agree every year with Excelis on a cash cap. If we pay our losses, or not loss, we pay our claims up to that cash cap, a monthly total amount. If we're under the agreed upon cap, we just pay the claims. If we go over, when we hit the cap, the insurance company pays. So that provides that's the insured component of this plan. However, what they've paid rolls over to the next month. And if it's a good month, they get to recoup their loss. And that happens every month, every month, every month. At the end of the year, if the plan has outperformed the cash cap, the insurance company's fine, everybody's good, we move on. If they've paid our claims, if they've paid above the cash cap, they're allowed to roll that over into the next year and then begin reclaiming it in the next year's rate. So it provides you some stability, it provides the plan stability, but you never really escape those claims. Where you would be able to escape them is if you walked away from the plan. So you ended a year, Excelis was on the hook for lots of money, and you said, well, that's it, we're going to go with a different carrier. They stay on the hook. So that's the insured aspect of it. In the interest of reducing rates, the cost of that risk gets built into your premiums. So several years ago, we negotiated away from that, and we said, look, if we do away with that terminal liability, we'll always pay our bill. The plan will be on the hook for the bill no matter what. How much can we reduce our rates? And so in those years, we used, by taking on that additional risk, we again drove costs down. So, and that's been in place for a number of years. So if you think about that, what's left? We're really all but self-insured, right? We own, at this point, all of our risk through a insured product that bit by bit by bit, we've negotiated much of the insurance out. Based on that, I'll skip through this. Based on that, a few years ago, the board of directors we had a study committee, and we decided that we would move forward with self-insurance. So we've worked our way through that with a number of consultants, with an attorney's firm, and we've submitted an application for self-insurance to the State Department of Health. That's been in process for a very long time. This will be the second or maybe even third presentation on this that I've made to the board. It's just been much slower than we thought that it would be. But why would we do it? Why would we take that next step? In part, it's because of healthcare reform, or Obamacare. So in order to fund, that has changed the face of insurance across the nation. And and it had, obviously, it had benefits, but it also had costs. And in order to fund it, insured plans such as ours have to pay a tax. The plans are taxed. And for our plan in 2018, so we've been paying that tax for the last few years, and our budget for 2018 is $7.8 million of tax that we will pay unless we become self-insured. Self-insured plans are exempt from the tax. There's also a New York State tax associated with insured plans, and there's some administrative costs of Excelis that Excelis charges for an insured plan. So if we become self-insured, we will save on the expense side of our budget about $10 million. We estimate about $10 million year over year. It's a $215 million plan a year. So this is a lot of money. 10 million's a lot, but you need to think of it relative to 215 million. The thing is, as we talked about it, we can save the money, and we're all but self-insured now. Why not take that next step? Control our own destiny and be in charge of our own plan. So Excelis would continue to act as a claims administrator, so as an employee. I think most of our employees are blithely unaware that any of this is going on in the background, right? That you get an insurance card, it says Excelis, I've got Excelis insurance, and I'm good to go. Nothing about that would change. And the change in risk at this point, normally for savings, you take on more risk. In this case, our savings are avoided taxes, and we've pretty much got all the risk we're going to get. So it makes it a pretty, from my perspective, easy recommendation. This is the history of that. 2014, the subcommittee finalized their recommendations. The board of directors agreed 2 years ago in March of 15, and we submitted that application. It's been at the Department of at the Health Department since then, Department of Financial Services rather, as they've asked 1 billion questions. They don't see many of these applications, I think, and it's hard to know actually what the holdup always is. You know, we've submitted, resubmitted, answered questions, answered more questions, but I think it's encouraging. We're not fully approved yet, but they have approved our municipal cooperative agreement, the agreement that you have tonight in your packet and that you have a recommendation for on the agenda. That has to happen before anything else, and they've approved the language of it, they have approved the structure of it, they say we can go forward. This doesn't mean we'll be self-insured. We need to wait for them to finalize their review and issue us a certificate of authority. I can't tell you when that will happen. I may be doing this presentation again a year from now, but I'm hopeful that it'll be soon. This seems to be this is a significant movement on their part, so we're hopeful that some more significant changes will come. So that's my summary of that. Are there any questions that I could answer?
Board members, any questions? Mark?
When we, Excelis was our buffer essentially. It would stabilize over month. What do we have in terms of that stabilization? Is there going to be a reserve, or is there reserve?
We've built reserves over a period of time, and our goals over the past many years has been to build reserves sufficient to allow us to be self-funded, because the reserve requirements for a self-funded plan, as you can imagine, are much different than what they are for a fully insured plan. But that's in place. We're confident that we have enough, and we've got a plan and an opportunity right now to move forward, because our budget still contains that $7.8 million of hit tax. As we move forward, if the budget's was approved today. At least I assume it was. Bill's nodding. I couldn't be at the meeting, so Bill went in my stead. But that budget was approved today. It includes $7.8 million. If we get approved halfway through the year, we'll pay half the tax. The remainder of that, some will be used to moderate future increases, but the rest will be used in a planned fashion to maintain and stabilize reserves. So we've got we've got a funding source built into our structure right now that we can use to fund those necessary reserves as we go forward.
And we're talking about the hit tax. I don't know if that's the same as the Cadillac tax. Wasn't there a tax on the employees if their benefits were too good?
Yes, and that's, it's two different things. The hit tax is a tax that insured plans pay.
Right.
The Cadillac tax was going to be a tax, and it was never clear yet. I have to admit I've lost track of that a little bit. But that was going to be a tax, again, as part of healthcare reform, on relatively lavish insurance plans. When we analyzed it, it's based on both benefit and cost. And when we analyzed it a number of years ago, we believed that the extended program would fairly quickly hit the Cadillac tax status, and that select and value would over a period of time. I think that's on hold right now. I've not heard anything about it in the last, it's been at least a year since I've been updated on that, and I think it may be on death's doorstep. But you know what, that deserves a follow-up conversation. Let me ask that question, and I'll either send a note or bring it back to the board.
Thank you. Thank you.
John?
I know last year, early last year, there was a presentation that, is it Gallagher or?
Yes, Gallagher is our consultant.
I think it made a lot of sense because they painted a worse picture if you stayed where you were, with the cost. So I think that made sense, and I think the key is just keeping the reserves at a certain level, but this is happening all over because everyone's trying to eliminate the middle person and take that risk on if you know your risk pool. But I think that was the big point they made. It was to one of the committees, Monroe County School Boards, and maybe they'll do that again in the future because it was well done.
We've made an effort always to make sure that school boards, Monroe County School Boards, was that we had a fairly regular presentation there, and we also annually, just before budget, make sure the superintendents get touched because it's just good politics.
Yeah, and the goal was, $7.8 million each year is, constituents' dollars.
It's sort of hard to say it's not real money.
Yeah, and I know that it took, I know they kept talking how it should have been done, and New York State was so slow, so.
It's been very slow. Like I say, I think, it's hard to know why it's so slow. They're not great communicators in that regard, but I think that they don't see a lot of these. This is a significantly large plan. I mean, a $200 million plan. There's no penalty for not doing anything, right? But if you do something and it goes wrong and you get blamed for it, that's bad. So I think they're sort of risk averse in this regard, but it's not their plan, and we have since 2005 managed it very well. So I think we've got a track record that shows we know what we're doing. We've had bad years and we've survived. So I think it's just a matter of time until they have to. But I think they want to make sure that every I is dotted and T crossed.
Great.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Also on your agenda tonight is there's the budget calendar, just as a report. So it seems like we just got done talking about budget, but we're getting ready to start again. Mm-hmm. So tonight we'll establish the budget calendar. I'm just going to review that briefly. At the next meeting, at the 2nd October meeting, Ray Wagger will be here to present the audit report of last year. And for me, that is a budget event. That's, we start our process with how did you do? How did we do last year? We'll look forward soon enough, but let's look backwards at the beginning and see how we did. So that's the next meeting. And then we really begin the ramp up to, after we've looked backwards, we begin the ramp up towards this year with enrollment projections. And I'll present a draft of goals, assumptions, and guidelines for your consideration at the November 7th meeting. You'll review those again. We take 2 meetings for those, and you'll review those again and approve them presumably at the November 28th meeting. December 12th, we'll talk about the tax cap, where we're at, what we anticipate happening during in this year, look at a budget forecast where we think we're going to end up over time, and talk about reserves and reserve funding. After that, we're into budget. So at every meeting, we'll have some budget presentation, beginning in January with the administrative budget. The program budget at the January meeting is the special areas of the instructional program. So staff development, special education, school counselors, nurses, psychologists, social workers, those special areas and supportive areas of the program. You'll have a work session, or one is planned on February 6th, just before the meeting, where we'll review capital, which is buildings and grounds, transportation, and the debt service budget. Second program meeting, which is everything else. So the general instruction, this is the largest component, OCAD, computer services, and so on. So the areas of general instruction at that February meeting, BOCES at March 13th, and we'll be done with a review of benefits and a total budget at the March 27th. And I shouldn't say done, but that's the first reading of the entire budget. April 7th, you will review and adopt. So that has to be done at that April 17th meeting, because April 25th, I believe, is the deadline, is the last possible day for us to adopt, based on the advertising requirements and so on. May 1st is a public hearing, the official public hearing of the three-part budget, and we will vote this year on May 15th. So those two main dates, we'll have this slide at every meeting. May 1st is the budget hearing, and May 15th from 6 to 9 in the high school gym. So are there any questions on calendar?
Board members? Thank you.
All right. And I also want to just remind everyone and summarize the elementary additions project. In your agenda tonight, you have approval of a land purchase agreement that we discussed at the last board meeting. So I want to summarize that, remind everyone how that fits in with our overall project, and just kind of put the structure around that one resolution. So this is the 2018 Elementary School Classrooms Additions Project. So we are proposing tentatively, still tentatively because we're still at SED review, 4 classrooms each at Cobble, Scribner, and Indian Landing. There's also, and you'll see this in just a minute, some associated changes to support spaces, so gyms, cafeterias, parking improvements, and so on. Just in quick summary, this is all on the website, so I won't linger too long, but I just want to give folks a sense of the scale and what it is that we are accomplishing. So on this slide, you see on the wing to the right, a 4 classroom addition, and then on the wing to the left, a small gym space addition with 2 associated classrooms. Those 2 associated classrooms are replacing 2 classrooms that get consumed by the gym addition. So that's a replace for replace. That gym addition, obviously, to help accommodate the additional load that we're anticipating on the building. This is Indian Landing. This one's harder to see in this, and I understand that, but essentially what this is addition on the front of the building that's 4 classrooms, 2 on the first floor and 2 on the second floor, kind of stacked on top of each other. And because we all know how many levels that and how complicated that building is. So just imagine a small 2-story addition on the front. And then the little disconnected piece is yet another level of Indian Landing, but that's additions to the cafeteria. So a bump out to the cafeteria in the back to allow us to accommodate more tables and more space there. Scribner, 4 classroom addition. You see the little orange area down in, sort of in the middle lower part of the page. The blue areas are existing spaces, gym space and cafeteria space, but it's blue because it's being renovated. It's being touched as part of this project. And what you see there in the orange are additions. So there's a small additional gym space off of the gym to the left, and you see additional cafeteria space in the orange, I guess, north or to the top of that slide, associated with the existing Scribner cafeteria. So what we're working on there is to expand the Scribner available gym space and Scribner cafeteria space, because they're already pretty tight for that building. So we're looking to make those a little bit bigger. That brings us to tonight. As you know, we've had sort of a lot of twists and turns as we move towards approval tonight of a land purchase. We began with an initial plan to renovate the bus garage on its existing site and move buildings and grounds to land that we own. That proved impossible because of the growth of wetlands in the area. So over the last many months, we've reviewed lots of other options. We've done some search, and we've identified a parcel that we've recommended, and we've talked about at past meetings for reconstruction. And we changed our plans based on the nature of that property. So what we are proposing is the purchase of a portion of what I think everyone in Penfield knows as Barry's Turkey Farm at 1364 Jackson Road. It's the intersection, near the intersection. It's on Plank Road, but the intersection that it's nearest is Jackson and Plank. $323,000 purchase price that will be state aidable if we use it for the purpose of a bus garage. That's the intersection of Plank and Jackson in the lower left-hand corner of this slide. The property with the red boundary box is the piece of the property that we're proposing purchase of. This is a diagram, a rough diagram of what we would fit on there, and you can see that it's a bus garage and bus parking, associated retention ponds, and so on. This is a sketch of what that facility would look like on the inside. So this is the orange, the pink area, I guess it is buildings and grounds. The green area is transportation, and then there's associated sort of shared space in the middle. 4 bays for buses. We would not abandon completely the existing bus garage maintenance facility on 5 Mile Line Road. That, as you know, I think many of you have toured that facility. We've certainly outgrown and outlived it, but it still has some usefulness to us, and the use we would propose for it is that of a bus wash. The Plank Road site is not on public sewer, and we need and would like to have a bus wash. So what we proposed to SED and what they agreed to is sort of a 2-bus garage situation where we would have very small services here. But we would have the bus wash where we can build it on public sewer, and a little bit of waiting room and break room and so on for drivers, because I don't think we'll ever entirely get away from routing some buses out of 5 Mile Line Road. It's in the middle of our community. The high school's just down the block. We can get the vast majority, we can get a majority, I should say, of our buses out of there. We can get the maintenance facilities upgraded and out of there. But I think we'll always probably route some smaller segment of our buses out of that site. So this would allow us the capacity to do that. We would also move the green area in the middle would be for computer servers associated with the district-wide network operating center. They're in sort of less than desirable space right now at the high school, and we can put them here as an aid, and it increases the aidability of work on this building and frees up space at the high school that's needed for instructional purposes. So we thought that was it, and then some storage. Those folks need lots of storage. So that gets them out of instructional space at the high school, makes good use of this facility, increases the aidability overall of it, and we thought it made a lot of sense. The one at the top is what it looks like now. So in terms of land purchase, so that brings us to tonight. We've spent some months negotiating with the owner. We've agreed on terms and a price. And so that on this list is in blue. It's done. Tonight, for your approval, is on the agenda for the approval of that offer in public session. That's a necessary next step. It's not sufficient, though. You're not the last step in this process. We need to complete our environmental review of the site. That needs to be included as part of the overall environmental review of the impact of the project, because this is a type 1 project, which means the board's previously decided that it may have environmental impact. So now you're in a process where your consultants are gathering information, working behind the scenes to allow you to be able to make a determination as to what those impacts are and whether they're manageable or not. So then this land purchase needs to be included as part of that. It ultimately requires voter approval. So you can approve it tonight, but that just sends it forward along with the capital project, or if we elect not to go with the capital project, we would have to put it up separately. But we would be sending it for, at some point in the future, for voter approval. And then once all that's done, the State Education Department has the final say. So approval by the State Education Department. So those are the next steps. This is our tentative timeline. We reviewed this with Megan Doherty from Harder Seacrest at the last meeting, and she emphasized that this is tentative because a great deal of this depends on what happens with seeker and with environmental review. But probably the earliest date, the earliest time this schedule could work out would be for a February 13th vote. So we're putting that on the slide, driving that stake in the ground because that's what we're going to work towards. The process itself will determine whether that's achievable or not. So tonight, October 10th, you'll make a determination about land purchase. We are planning in 9 days, October 19th, a public information meeting. So we'll be sending out notices about that. That newsletter, I think, is in the mail right now. Nancy's given me a nod, I think. So should be in homes very quickly. And so we'll be talking about all this in more detail at that meeting. The board will review the comments that you hear about that at the October 24th meeting. We have some time in November to consider those comments, and then we'll begin to make decisions about environmental impact and whether we can move forward with scheduling that public vote or not. So that's the overview, a little recap of where we're at in the project, a sketch of what we're proposing. Are there any questions that I could answer?
Board members? Lisa?
When it goes to public vote, the land purchase, is it separate? Like, does it
No,
go?
it could be, but it doesn't have to be, and I don't think we would propose it to be. So it can be, it wouldn't make sense in this case to have it separate.
Yeah.
Because what if they didn't approve your land purchase and did approve the bus garage? You'd have no place to put it.
Right.
So
okay.
you have to, I think, have them
They'd
together.
be tied like
Yeah.
as one. Okay. I
The-
didn't know if there'd be like two different, I don't
Right,
know, line
and,
items or something.
and I
No.
think that because they're so integrally together, there's one depends so much on the other. I think it only makes sense to put them up together as a package. You approve one, you approve the other. We're going to buy this land and put a bus garage on it. That's sort of the deal.
Right.
Either that all goes or it all doesn't, I think makes sense.
Right. And if I can, determination of significance just means we're
Whether
putting
there's
it-
significant
Okay.
environmental impact, yes.
Gotcha. Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, John?
Should everything go through, I guess being optimistic here, when would everything be complete? Ballpark. I don't know if that's possible because of state aid
Yeah,
and all that.
it's going to be, there's at least a year in design. Once we've achieved design, there's at least 6 months to a year at SED for approval. So you're probably 2 years out from the first shovel in the ground.
Okay.
And it would take about a year to get done. So I think about a 3-year process. Bill's given me maybe even a little longer. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is going to be a long, long process.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? John, I'm glad you brought that up. Mark, I'm glad you addressed that, because it really needs to be understood how long this is going to take if everything goes according to how we would like it to go. And that's assuming there's not one glitch along the way. So that's not likely to happen. So I think Bill, yeah. I know. Wouldn't it be nice if we could just, all right. John?
And in the past, too, if you go into another season, we get an extended cost because, contractors do something else. So, and this is always the burden that State Education Department has to handle. If it was us, it would be a lot different. Because, and we've had this experience before, I know Bill knows and Mark, all of a sudden you shoot for the fall and then it's going to be a spring and you just cost and everything goes up.
Yeah, if you can, in terms of just savings, if you can bid in midwinter, that's the sweet spot for these. It's, the contractors are, because there's lots of contractors in the world, but relatively few that do large commercial school kind of work. And if their dance card is full, prices go up. So in the middle of the winter, they're more interested in your project. So the timing of that is one of the reasons that we want to get out and get our vote as quickly as possible, because once you fall into the summer and you start to get on summer cycles, your costs go up.
Okay. All right, thank you.
That concludes the superintendent reports.
Thank you, Dr. Putnam. All right, board members. If you would go to page 4 of your agenda. And, well, this was everything he just explained. So we're going to do the resolution approving the purchase contract. Everything on the agenda prior to what I'm going to read was just reiterated by Mark. So we'll pick it up on page 4. The land purchased is subject to voter approval and will be included with the vote on the capital project. Approval of the following resolution is recommended. Resolution approving purchase contract. Whereas the Board of Education seeks to purchase real property located in the town of Penfield, county of Monroe, and state of New York, known as 1364 Jackson Road, town of Penfield, New York, tax map number 094.03-135, consisting of approximately 11.0 plus or minus acres at a cost of $18,500 per acre, but no less than $203,500. And whereas the Board of Education has received and reviewed the real estate purchase and sales contract for the purchase of the property. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Education of the Penfield Central School District as follows. Section 1. The contract to purchase the property known as 1364 Jackson Road, town of Penfield, New York, tax map number 094.03-135, consisting of approximately 11.0 plus or minus acres upon the terms and conditions set forth therein, is hereby approved. Section 2. The officers and employees of the district are authorized and directed to sign all documents and take all steps necessary to approve and complete the purchase subject to district voter approval. Section 3. This resolution shall take effect immediately. May I have a motion, please, and a second?
So moved.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. All right, we have one change order. In your packet here for Bay Trail, the above change order has been reviewed by and supported by the architect, Vic Tomaselli, project manager Gary Huffman, clerk of the works Alan McNiff, and deputy superintendent for business and finance Mark Sansucci. May I have a motion and a second, please, that the change order as described above be approved?
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. All right, for the RASH 2 self-funding initiative, Mark gave a comprehensive explanation of much of what's on the agenda. So if you will turn to page 6, where it reads, resolution for approval. I'll read from there and we'll move on from there. Resolution for approval of the Rochester Area School Health Plan 2 Municipal Operation Agreement. Whereas the Penfield Central School District participates in the Rochester Area School Health Plan 2, known as RASH 2, a municipal cooperative under Article 5G of the General Municipal Law. Whereas the RASH 2 Board of Directors has applied to the Department of Financial Services on behalf of the participating districts for a certificate of authority to operate as a self-funded plan under Article 47 of the State Insurance Law. Whereas the Department of Financial Services has reviewed and approved the Municipal Cooperation Agreement for RASH 2 and requires the approval of each member school district who wishes to participate in the plan. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Penfield Central School District hereby agrees to participate in the Rochester Area School Health Plan 2 Municipal Cooperative Health Benefit Plan, a municipal cooperative under Article 47 of the New York State Insurance Law. Be it further resolved that the Board has reviewed the draft Municipal Cooperation Agreement for the Rochester Area School Health Plan 2 Municipal Cooperative Health Benefit Plan, the agreement, as approved by the New York State Department of Financial Services on September 19, 2017, and hereby expressly agrees to the terms and conditions of that agreement. The agreement shall go into effect on the date the Department of Financial Services issues a certificate of authority to the Rochester Area School Health Plan 2 Municipal Cooperative Health Benefit Plan. Be it further resolved that the Board hereby authorizes the Superintendent of Schools to adopt and sign the agreement on behalf of the Penfield Central School District. May I have a motion and a second?
So moved.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? None opposed. Thank you. Okay, policy review. Would that be you, Dr. Putnam?
Sure. So we have one policy for first read this evening. It has to do with evaluation of personnel. Really, we changed it as I think we've presented, Jim and I, and have talked about it at length with the board, as the state continues to change the APPR process. So lots of different letters after that law. And so we had to update it in order to make sure that it was concurrent with existing state education evaluation of personnel law. So we've cleaned up the policy, moved much of it to regulation, and then there are two new forms to release APPR scores. Parents have the right to ask for an APPR score of a teacher that they've had, but there's a process to do that. And so we've cleaned those up through the policy committee. That's the first read. They're up online, they're in your packet, and we'll return for a second read next time. And then second reading and approval is policies and bylaws, as well as, that's a second reading and approval, as well as second reading approval of the credit cards. We talked last time that the district now has to have credit cards in order to do fingerprinting. It's a service that they are, we used to be able to do that with an open PO. We have to have staff fingerprinted per state law. We have to use the fingerprint company that the state has approved, and they only take credit cards starting this year. So we did have to have credit cards in order to do so. Does that help? Does that? I look at policy committee. Did I touch upon the
Yeah.
two pieces?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so then may I have a motion and a second that policy 1410, policies and bylaws, be approved as presented?
So moved.
Any questions or comments? John?
Just, and not familiar with the process. So my, I guess, recommendations or comments, are those not going to be considered now because we're about to say yay or nay?
Well, so we can talk about policy. He's got a great point. So you brought up a question, you know, from Friday notes, and we didn't work yesterday. So this morning we took a look at it. So I'll ask policy committee. We have two things we can do. I've actually talked with Mark Sansucci. So I looked down the table. It was about adding the word waste as well as fraud, and there's another one in there.
Abuse. Waste, fraud, and abuse.
Waste, fraud, and abuse. So in terms of from the business office, we are okay adding that. So if I look at the policy committee, are you guys okay adding that one word? Or the other option we can do is obviously shelve it and go back to a third read.
No, it's fine.
Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with it, yeah.
So I think we have approval from the policy committee. We'll make that change. In terms of this process to approve, can I look at Sharon? Is it possible to, we're making a change to the policy now. If we do that verbally at this meeting, can we do that and approve the one with the change?
Or do we,
You approve the resolution, so approve it as amended.
yeah, is amended. Is that acceptable? Okay. All right, then may I have a motion and a second that the policy 1410, policies and bylaws, be approved as amended? As amended.
5420.
No, I'm,
Sorry, yeah.
all right.
And-
Okay, excuse me,
question.
yes,
Go ahead.
yes, all right. No, wait a minute. What I was doing before
Yep.
was for 1410, and then you asked your question, so I just lumped it all together. So
Okay.
your question is applied to the...
5420,
Yes, 5420.
and then 6130.
So 6130 is only for a first read tonight. It's not an approval.
Oh, it is 60, okay, cool.
Yeah,
Well, then
so
we're all
that's the
set
one
there.
around
Perfect.
APPR, so we'll shelve that. I will, maybe policy committee, we can I'll bring that to Jim's attention. We talked a little bit about this morning, and then we can do that via email perhaps, because we have, we're looking at not having policy committee tomorrow.
Right.
I texted everybody, Carol, I look sorry to put you on the spot, but we had talked about perhaps not having policy committee tomorrow. We have policy committee on Wednesday, the 25th, but we have a board meeting on the 24th. So we can take a look at that maybe via email and take a look at that one, or have a conversation at the next board meeting on making that change.
Just a recommendation,
Yep.
and first read, it'll get addressed next time.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
first read will
Okay.
get next time.
Sorry about
Yep.
that.
No, it's, the timing's tricky because we didn't have school yesterday. We didn't have, so we weren't in to talk about policy recommendations. So I'm glad you brought it up, because I would have slipped right by it.
Okay.
My typical answer, as the board knows, to any board member who has a suggestion is, I'll bring it back to policy committee, because it is a committee decision, not mine. So, but this one, the timing's a little off, because we had the suggestion and then we had a board meeting to approve it. So,
Right. Okay.
But we did get a chance to talk about 5420. We're comfortable, I think, from the policy committee amending that,
Yeah.
and then have that go to vote.
Okay, so a procedural question, do we do a motion for each one, or just one motion for the two?
One for this one.
Yeah.
And then one for that.
So I
And then
do,
they will be amended to
okay, but I do have a motion on the table for 1410.
And that was motion by Barb.
Okay,
And then who's second? I don't know.
John.
John.
Okay,
So
So-
then you just need to vote.
all right, so all those in favor for 1410? And none opposed? Thank you. All right, now, may I have a motion and a second that policy 5420, procurement cards and credit accounts, and 5420 R1, procurement cards and credit accounts regulations, be approved as amended? Any questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor? None opposed? Thank you. Okay. So-
Just for the record, I thought that was kind of fun.
Well, yeah, it
So,
was fun.
It's nice to change it up a little
Sure,
bit.
why
so
not?
That was good.
For the record, thank you.
Thank you. No, I thought it was good. I watched a board meeting of, when I was home, where they do all of their policy at the board meeting. And I don't want to do that.
No.
So I think this
No.
works, but it also, I think, shows the community that these are live meetings, and we take a look at things, and it's not, pre-recorded.
You mean home, the home you grew
Oh,
up
I was home,
in?
yep, in the, around the Saratoga area, so.
Wow, that's interesting. All right, well, under President's remarks, presentations, this is the big week in Lake Placid, and 4 of us are going, I believe. John, Mark, Barb, John, me, and Dr.
I'll be your
Plattner.
chaperone.
Yay. Is anybody else going? No? Is that it for this year? John, it's your first one. Welcome aboard. Yeah? Yeah, it'll be an experience for sure. Well, it's just a long drive I'm just thinking about that drive. Because we're going to Lake Placid.
And I thought, just too, as Mark Elledge is, I forgot, but you're presenting or presiding at a breakfast meeting?
Right, there's the upstate, downstate breakfast, but it would cover the resolutions that we do have for this meeting. They'll have a discussion, and so I'll be.
I'm a presider.
Welcome back.
That's great.
Nice.
And,
I'm a
Barb?
presider.
oh, you
Well,
really?
let's hear it, Barb.
Well, on Friday morning, I'm presiding after your breakfast. But I can't remember the name of it.
I'll be there.
Well, that's wonderful.
And you are our delegate.
I am,
vote.
I'm your voting delegate on
Delegate.
Saturday morning, yes.
Very
And-
good.
And who's the official attendance taker?
Oh,
Just kidding.
is that me?
No.
So we will have our workshop next week, and for those of us who are going to the convention, we'll share with the others what we took away, our takeaways from it, and it'll be good. I'm hoping we have a nice weekend, nice weather, because
Friday, it's supposed to be 69.
it's wonderful, because, that'll be beautiful up there in Lake Placid, yeah.
The low of 35.
Well, yeah.
Well, all right, we'll bring jackets. Okay. Yes, Carol?
Just a quick question. Was there an Area 2 meeting where resolutions were discussed?
Where what was discussed?
Oh, there was?
Yeah.
In Area 2?
Yeah, there was. It was at the Canandaigua High School, as it typically is. I can't remember the date. It was about 3 weeks ago. I hosted that as well, and hosted a discussion since I was the Area 2 representative for the Albany review of the resolutions, of the resolution committee. So I was the representative for our area. So I hosted that meeting. Everyone came in. We had a good discussion. I think everyone was pretty happy with it.
And for the first time in a long time, there were no resolutions from Monroe County School Boards, which is unusual.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. Okay. Those were my remarks. No unfinished business or new business. All right, so there being no other business, may I have a motion and a second that the meeting be adjourned at 8:02 p.m.
So moved.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Not opposed? Thank you.
Okay, so, do we get one with Miles?